Hello and welcome to my 2025 reading journal setup. This is my reading journal. It is journal setup. This is my reading journal. It is from Michaels. It is just the Michaels brand bullet journal. Last year I did the setup in the front, and I have all the stuff in here. So from last year I had a reading goal. This is my physical bookshelf of all the books I have and marking them off when I read them. And then my series tracker by series and number. And then my reading log. So that was last year. This year we're going to start a new one. But really quick, let's recap my stats from 2024. So this is a little year in review that I created based on the stats from Storygraph. And if you want to friend me on Storygraph, just let me know in the comments and we'll get that set up. But I completed 26 books. My goal was 25, so I beat that. I had a goal of doing 7,500 pages, and I beat that. And then my top genres are fantasy. I did a lot of reading of art last year because I had the idea to be an artist. I've since abandoned that idea. I read some comics, some horror and sci-fi, and some of the horror and sci-fi also overlapped with the fantasy and comics. It's kind of hard, when things are multiple genres, so that's what I did. My reading averages, average book length was 305 pages, and average time to take me to finish a book was 26 days. I had 3 authors that I read multiple books of, and that was Neil Gaiman. I read Sandman 4 and 0. Orson Scott Card, I read Speaker of the Dead and Seventh Son. And then Anne Rice, I read the first and second book in the Mayfair Witches, The Witching Hour, and Lasher. My average yearly rating was 3.77, and of the year I only gave 4 books 5 stars. That was Journaling for Dummies, of all things. It was a self-help, but I really enjoyed it, and it's something I would like to pick up in the future. Speaker for the Dead from Orson Scott Card, Sandman Volume 4, Seasons of Mist by Neil Gaiman, and Seventh Son, also by Orson Scott Card. I feel that Orson Scott Card writes some of the best books. He is the author of Ender's Game, which you may or may not have heard of. There's a movie about it. And one of the books, Speaker for the Dead, is the sequel to Ender's Game. And there are several other books in the series. It is part of my series tracker. So yeah, that is my year in review for 2024. Now let's start with 2025. So I went ahead and made my cover page. It's really simple. It's actually very similar to my 2024, but this time it's just not as neat because I kind of did it, haphazardly. So what are we going to set up for 2025? Well, let's flip the page and find out. First, we're going to do my reading goal. This year, my goal again is 25 books, so it's 25 in 2025. And then I made the blocks a little bit bigger, and I left a row here down for extras in case I finish more than 25 books. I do have them numbered 1 through 25. And then I have down here a little key for each of the months. Well, I will color in a different color, similar to what I did last year. So here, these 3 books I finished in January, so there's my key there. This was a little bit crowded, so I wanted to make something a little bit easier to read. So that is what this is going to be. So let me put on the music and do a little montage or speed up while I draw this all in for you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So I did the title with a Tombow dual tip brush pen. This is in N25, which is actually, I think, a really dark gray. And then I did the fine lining for the boxes and the numbers because I'm going to color over those with mild liners, and the Tombows will smear. So I did a micron, a Pigma micron in 05 for that because they are waterproof or archival ink. So yeah, I have the 4 boxes, the 25 boxes. There are 5 rows of 5, as you could probably see, and then each box is 3 spaces by 3 spaces. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on. Okay, I also wanted to mention I already picked out my color. I'm using mild liners to color these in, and my color for January, in case you want to know, is Summer Green. It does coordinate with the color I am using in my bullet journal, so I have not read any books yet, but when I do, I will color these in. So yeah, moving on, we're going to do, similar to last year, I had, flipping back and forth, I had this little book stack, which is all the books I've read in the year, and giving them, coloring them in with the yearly, with the star rating that I gave them. You can see there were a lot of 4 stars and 3 stars, and a couple, my 4, according to this, there are 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 5 stars, but I think those are like 4.75, 4.5. I've stopped doing that kind of rating. So instead of doing this, we're going to do something like this for the books that I've actually read for the year. So I have over here a blank page. You may see in pencil it says books read, or book read. I forgot to put the S. And then a couple lines for bookshelves, and then I already drew in the color code. It is the same color code I used last year because I have those markers handy, and I like that color combination. So I'm going to go ahead and write this in and fill it, draw it in, and then we'll get started. So just use the N25 for the title, which kind of went a little wonky, and then I'm going to color in the shelves with 879, which is a nice dark brown. And I just marked the length and the height that I want them, and then instead of drawing books ahead of time, I'm going to draw them in as I read them. Because I like to vary the size of the books and kind of have it coordinate with the size of the title or the size of the physical book. So as you can see from this one, not all my books are the same. Like this one is really long, this one is longer, and then some of them are shorter. So yeah, that one actually was like a 4.5 because it's half and half. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not going to fill those in, so let me go ahead and clean this up and we'll move on to the next page. Okay, my next page I've set up is called Series Tracker 2.0, and these are going to be by title. The first one was just by the number of books in a collection because I have a lot of series and some of them have a lot of books, but I found that sometimes I don't know what number a book is, so I've started with 2 titles of series and the number of books that are in them, and then I'm going to write in the titles of each of the books. I don't have them all in front of me, but that's what we're going to start with. So let me fill in this information. Okay, so the 2 series I'm starting with are books that I physically own. The first one is the Albin Maker series, which is from Orson Scott Card. I already read Seventh Son, which was actually a reread for me. I read it prior to 2024, but I can't remember when. But I couldn't remember the story, so I picked up a copy and I reread it. And then I already have the sequel, which I'm planning to read soon while it is fresh in my mind, and it is called Red Prophet. So I'm going to go ahead and add that on there. And there are 7 books and a 0 book. So I'm not sure what, I'm guessing that's a prequel of some sort, but I'm not writing it in. I have a space for it in case I find out what it is and actually read it. But sometimes there are little books and anthologies and things, and I'm not going to include them on here unless I actually read them. And then the second one I'm starting with is the Grishaverse by Lee Bardugo. And that is because I've read a couple of the books and I own several more. And this one I have 0 through 8. And this is again another one where there are 0.5s and other in-between short stories and things. So I'm not going to count them unless I actually read them. I did add 0 because I have read 0. It's a graphic novel. So yeah, I'm going to clean this up, and then I left myself 2 pages because like I said, some of these series, I can show you here, some of these series, like right now I'm reading Discworld book. I'm reading book 16. I've read 1 through 7. I'm trying to read them in order, but I requested 16 for reasons. And yeah, there are 41 books in the whole series. Same with The Legend of Dritz. There are 31 books in that series. I'm not going to write them in until I write them. And then this one, Mayfair Witches, I'm actually reading the 3rd one right now, so it's not going to carry on. But some of these, I'm just going to add series to the series by title list as I read them. Let's say that going forward. And like I said, I just picked up some of these, so I'm going to be reading them soon. So yeah, let me clean this up and then we'll move on. Okay, and by cleaning up, I mean I'm taking an eraser and erasing all the pencil lines. Alright, lastly, I have my reading log, which will be very similar to my reading log from the first year, where I just have a selection for title. I'm giving myself more room because I put title and author, but then I found a lot of times I didn't have room for the title and the author because some titles are kind of long. So I left more room for title and author, a start date, a finish date, and the end reading. So that way I can keep track of how long it takes me to finish a book. So let me fill this in and then we'll start setting up January. Okay, I also wanted to point out that you may have noticed in my previous setups I have a lot of scrapbooky and ephemera stuff stuck in, and I'm not gonna bother with that this time. I just want to keep it plain and simple, markers and pens, because, you know, who has time for all that? I don't. Well, I do, but I don't have the feeling. Anyway, moving on. We got January. So, January, I created a calendar because I want to track when I'm reading each book. Currently, I'm reading 2 books. One of them is on pause because I'm reading the other one. And I've switched up my way I do my reading. I used to do like a while reading a nonfiction and a while reading a fiction. Now I'm solely focused on reading one book at a time. and reading mostly fiction. So let me set all this up, and yeah, that'll be pretty much the end of the video. But stick around to watch me set this up. Okay, I just realized while I was doing this that this is not black. This is actually a micron in, I think, sepia. It doesn't say on here the color that I can see, but I realized it is not actually black. It is dark brown. So, yeah. Clean this up and we'll go over what I'm tracking. Alright, so as I said, I'm going to use colors to indicate my books. For this month, I will probably use this mild liner in Summer Green, and then this is the color I'm using for the title. This is 346. It is also a dark green, and I will color in the days for each different book that I read. And then the stats for the month that I track are the number of books I read, the number of pages, the format, whether it's physical, digital, or comic, or audio. I don't really listen to audiobooks, but you know, just in case I decide I do, and then the average rating for the month. And then that's it. And then I have a page back here where I'm going to, at the end of the month, print out the graphic from Storygraph, because kind of think that's cool. I don't have a printer of my own, so I'll have to go to the library to do that. And then I will do my reviews. So that is everything. If you have any questions about my setup or any of my trackers, let me know. But thank you for watching, and until my next video, take care of yourselves, stay true to you, read a book or two, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!